Hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this panel. I'm especially proud of it. My name is Lauren Atkins. I am the founder of NYC Web Fest, and I would like to welcome you to this panel. I am going to pull up Kathleen. She is our moderator today. Kathleen, bear with me. Where are you?
Hello.
Hi, darling. How's it going?
Good. This is very exciting.
I know, I'm super excited. Listen, the duck thing, I tried to remove it and everything. I was working on it at 2 in the morning. It crashed my computer, so I tried.
We still have we still have the NYC Web Fest logo.
That's right, as long as that's there. So I am going to pull everybody up right now.
Nice.
Bear with me. Here we go. To stream. I am going to, hello, I am going to remove myself and add everybody else, okay? Thank you guys for doing this.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the NYC Web Fest, and thank you, Lauren, for setting up this amazing panel with these extraordinary filmmakers. This industry panel is called The Female Gaze, and we're speaking with women filmmakers and having conversations about their challenges and things they're passionate about and their amazing projects. So I just wanted to introduce everybody quickly. We start with Georgette. Georgette Pierre is an Emmy award-winning producer. Hello, Georgette. Wave, everyone. Content creator and voiceover artist, and she's written for publications including Entertainment Weekly, VH1.com, MTV News, Blavity, and Killer Boombox. She served as the first sideline reporter for the inaugural 2018 NBA 2K League, and she was the local host of the Ricky Smiley Morning Show at 99 Jams in Miami. Very cool woman. Georgette has produced and hosted various podcasts and created 2 web series called #Dear Georgette and After Dark with Georgette Pierre, while working full-time in production for VH1 and Nickelodeon. After Dark is nominated at this festival in the category of documentary unscripted. Welcome, Georgette. So nice.
Hi. Thank you.
Marie, we'll go to you. Wave to everybody. There she is. She's a writer, producer, and performer, and studied playwriting and theatre production at HB Studios. In 2015, she produced and acted in her first full-length play, A Muse, that was presented at the Venus Adonis Festival in the Robert Moss Theatre. In 2016, she was awarded a fellowship for playwriting by Birdcliff Arts Colony Air Program in Woodstock, New York. And before the pandemic struck, you could watch CT every Tuesday evening at Sister Jane Tavern, where she hosted a weekly comedy show and competition. Rent Control, her first completed film project, is nominated in the New York City Web Fest in the categories of Sound, I Love NY, and Best Series. Congratulations, and thanks for being here. We've got Ria Pavia. Hi, Ria. Ria began her career in the industry as an actor, and I am told that her big break arrived via a very memorable gymnastics performance in a tampon commercial in the 80s. Is that right, Ria?
Correct.
Congratulations. We've all done one. I was the face of a toilet paper brand. So she currently serves as an acting coach on some amazing TV series, including Blackish, Grownish, and Mixedish. She lives in Los Angeles with her 3 beautiful children, and her directorial debut short film, Second Team, has been selected to screen in over a dozen festivals and has earned Best Short, Best Comedy, Dramedy Short, and Audience Award designations. And at the NYC Web Fest, the film is nominated for Dynamic Duo twice and Best Short Film. So thank you for being here, Ria.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Krystal Harris, who is an actress, writer, and director. Directly out of college, she was commissioned by Beacon Pictures to write a feature film entitled The Loop, which is a modern-day Romeo and Juliet, highlighting the racial divide in Chicago's downtown loop. Shortly after gaining that experience, she began curating her own library of original content. She was a 2017 HBO Access semi-finalist for her script entitled We Are Risen. an epic fantasy drama, and she's currently in post-production on Sunset, a dark thriller that's been filmed completely virtually. Very cool. Her new original series, which she wrote, co-directed, and stars in, The New Jim Crow Majority Rules, is nominated at today's Web Fest in the categories of Best Pilot and Best Actress. Amazing.
Thank you.
So basically, you know, surrounded by badass women right now. We don't have all that much time, and it's really hard with so many people. But I do want you all to introduce yourselves just quickly in terms of what your project is about, and tell me what made this time the time that you were going to say, yes, we're going to go and do this project? Because I know we all often sit on our ideas and we have that seed there, but that step to actually make it is something that's really important. I think that other filmmakers will benefit from your decision-making process. So, Georgette, I think you're on mute there, darling. Yes. Tell us a little bit about After Dark and what made you do it.
Yeah, so when I started After Dark, I actually was transitioning from Dear Georgette. I wanted something a little bit more elevated and just something that was more interview style. And I had come up with the idea of just doing like an interview series. I was just like, well, let me get some dope ass friends that I know in the entertainment industry that have been in some dope situations or worked for dope people and have done dope things. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do an interview series. I'm gonna sit down with them. And I literally had to go to LA for work. I was traveling a lot for work when I was working in TV production. And I was like, okay, well, I have to put this together in a week. And so I wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to get it done, but I had the support of a dope team. After Dark ended up being something completely opposite of what I thought it was. It was even better than what I came up with. And so After Dark ended up being this series, a labor of love series where, you know, I kind of talked to friends that were professional badasses in their careers, but unassuming in their personal lives. And I wanted people to see a different side of what people normally see in interviews. For example, the episode that I submitted when it was rolling out, I went to school with Cornetta Shaw, and she's one of Beyonce's main dancers. But when I met her, she was always into dancing, and she was, you know, also going to school for nursing. But you don't really get to meet these people or see behind the scenes. And so when we had our conversation, it was just like, yes, she's dope, but she didn't even know that she was going to be one of Beyonce's dancers, or she would have gotten as far as she did in her career based off on where she was from. So those humanistic stories were really important for me to tell in After Dark.
Amazing. And it's a beautiful, I mean, you are a phenomenal interviewer, and you know, people feel very comfortable with you. I can tell that you get information from them that no one else could get from them. It is like being in the living room with you. It's really lovely. So everyone who can check out After Dark, Georgette is phenomenal. And her guests are mind-blowing. Krystal, tell us a little bit about your series and what was the decision that was like, yep, I'm making this now. It has to happen now.
Yes, so The New Jim Crow Majority Rules is based off Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. And I kind of wanted to highlight what it was like for a woman who has lost someone. Her whole family kind of has been taken by a system that is working against us. And so I wanted to highlight it from a woman's point of view and just kind of see the survivors that are left. You know, the men are taken to prison, the men are killed by cops. What happens to the woman and if she's raising children? You know, I wanted to explore that avenue. And also I wanted the series to do something for people who were currently incarcerated. So as the series progresses, we are partnered with the California Innocence Project, and each person that we profile in their cases, we actually are going to be using real case files of people currently incarcerated so we can get their stories out there to start telling about the systemic injustices. So that's what the show is about and why I decided to do it now. I wrote this series 4 years ago when I was living in LA. And I tried to get a team together. It just wasn't happening. Maybe it wasn't the right time. I'm a big believer in following your gut. So when I moved to Atlanta, I moved in September. In January, it just hit me. I said, I need to do something. And I pulled out that old script. So keep your old scripts, all right? You never know when it's going to be the right time for it. Pulled out its old script. I updated it for Atlanta. And then we just shot it. That was January. And we shot it in March. And then the next week, the pandemic hit. And we were all at home.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. And CT, tell us a little bit about your series, and the same question. I'm really interested in your decision-making process.
Well, my series is kind of like When Harry Met Sally meets High Maintenance. If you guys are familiar with that movie and that web series, about two roommates where they may have a flirtation going on, but are establish themselves as friends who are trying to rent out for families, rent-controlled apartment for people to rent to do their arts events. So instead of the series really focused on them, each episode is about the people who rent out the space, and they're all kind of bottle episodes because I come from theater, and also I had pretty much like no budget, so I was like, well, I'll just use my family's apartment as the set, and I'll just always have like a different revolving door of different actors in different situations and how people can transform a room. But the thing is that I learned by doing this show is that I didn't really, when I first started writing it, I didn't really know what kind of story I wanted to tell until I actually filmed it and saw what I did, because then I figured out where my mistakes were, or what didn't work on the page when I went into production. So now I'm writing a second season, which is about the kind of the off Broadway art scene. It's like that's why I actually got into stand-up comedy, because my character, she actually starts doing comedy because she is a frustrated writer looking for an outlet. And actually, it's interesting. I realized this about stand-up comedy. It doesn't really cost that much money to get on stage. Meanwhile, these classes for acting, and I think they are important, but what I think sometimes happens is with these classes is that they always fill in a lot of people, and then you're paying $50 a pop, and then you don't always get an opportunity to actually perform. And I think you learn how to be better by actually doing it. So that's what my character is kind of going through, trying to figure out who she is, along with her roommate, and also trying to figure out this relationship.
And I love that you just decided, you know what, I don't have any money, but I want to tell this story, and I'm just going to do it with what I have. I think we've all done that at least once, and it's really brave and exciting.
Yeah. I think you learn how to be a better writer when you start doing it, Absolutely. Because it's not just meant to be read, it's meant to be seen. So sometimes, you have to see other people, performing it. What is their interpretation of it, to learn about what you want to say to a viewer.
Thanks, CT. And Ria, you're an incredible short film. You have a background as a coach, an acting coach, and you effectively in that do quite a bit of directing, because there's not enough time for often the directors on TV to direct the actors. So you're helping them with that. What made you feel like, this is it, I'm going to direct my own short?
Well, I finally just listened a little bit more to myself instead of everyone else. There were on these shows that I've been working on for several years as an acting coach, as you just said. I was told by many producers, "Hey, you should direct a short as like a sample of your work," and it wasn't resonating with me yet. I'm like, "No, I'm an acting coach. I don't do that. I'm not. That's not what I do. I'm doing this over here." As the years went on, I started to feel that drive within. Like I'm basically doing that anyway. I am the conduit between the director and the actor. I am spending 14 hours a day on sets. I am shadowing directors, which is what a lot of us do before we direct anyway, as an acting coach. And it was like this light that went off. Oh, it's time. It's time. Probably picked the worst time ever, though, if there ever is a bad time, in that I was moving, getting a divorce, using my savings account, whatever, but I didn't care. I got the word trust tattooed on my arm, and I decided I'm going to trust the universe. I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to do this. And I'm thrilled that I did. And the universe is paying me back.
Yeah, it's incredible. All of you need to watch this short. It keeps you on the tips of your toes the entire time. So all four of you took on your projects wearing so many hats, right? We're talking creator, writer, director, actor. I mean, all of you took on multiple roles. I know sometimes that's because you just have to. If you don't have the money to do it, you just do everything. Also, you know, it's your baby and you want to control all the aspects of it. But talk to me a little bit about what surprised you about that process and what the challenges were. So, Georgette, tell me a little bit about that, wearing those hats for you.
Woo! So let's begin. You know, I, like, similar to the other ladies, like I paid out of pocket for everything. And so, excuse me, I think the biggest thing with something like this that ends up being a challenge is, like, you want to make sure you build a team that's on board with your vision, right? Because in their mind, they're coming in to help you execute what you want. And so part of it's like, what's in it for them? And the other part of it is like, do they believe in you? Do they rock with you that much to say, like, whatever she needs, I don't care if I'm getting paid or not. And so I shot it in two, like, I don't want to say the seasons, but I shot it in 2 different years because of money. And so when I first shot it, you know, I had to find a location, and one of my friends offered his house to me. And it was literally, I had to make sure the train kept moving. There was nobody else to lay the foundation down. But once the train was moving, it was easy for me to place everyone on board. There were moments where I was just like, this is just, I'm doing too much. Like, what I got to write the script. I got to come up with the questions. And I was overwhelmed. And wearing the multiple hats, it actually really paid off, because it really, the second time around, because I filmed the first 3 episodes in 2017, I filmed the last 4 episodes in 2019. By the time I got to 2019, I knew what I needed, and I still know what I need by the time I shoot season 2. But you just really get to fill in the blanks when you're all in, right? Like, you get to see where the efficiencies or the inefficiencies are, but you also get to control and kind of move and be flexible with how you want the things to look. Like, yes, I wanted it to look as great as it did, but there was a lot of moving pieces that happened for the set to look amazing, for, you know, just every output. I just think for me, it was just a lot of feeling overwhelmed. But because I wanted this project so bad, it didn't matter how many hats I had to wear. I just knew I had to get it done.
Thank you. And Krystal, you too. I mean, how hard was it for you to co-direct at the same time as act? And, you know, you're talking about really important, heavy content at times. How did you sort of switch back and forth between that?
It was hard, but I knew that I wanted to do a good job acting, and I was going to have to take my creator hat off. So I said everything that I agree with you, Georgette. You have to have a good team. I interviewed people, found an amazing producer, Ava Lawrence. She came in and she was like, oh no, you're going to need me through the whole process, and I'm going to take care of everything. And she did. She was great. She is a stellar producer. So I relied on her a lot. And then I called my friend Marvin Green, who's a co-writer on We Are Risen, which you mentioned. And I said, you know, Marvin, I know you're in LA. I need you to come out to Atlanta. I'm going to shoot this thing, but I cannot do the justice of acting this role unless I have somebody else who can execute my vision. And I trust him to do that. So he flew out for me, and he was the perfect person to have, because when you're controlling everything, you want to control everything. And as an actor, sometimes you have to just be. You have to be still in the moment and be present. So I'm in the scene and I'm doing something, and I'm like, let me go see that. I want to see what that looks like. He's like, go chill. So it was really good. I had to have that balance because I knew I was going to be a mess, but it was kind of fun. One of my favorite comments I got was when I was on set doing an office scene, and I was running back and forth between acting in it and then looking at the daily. And then I was like, this one actor who was on set with us, she said, you're like the female Tyler Perry. And I was like, that's a great compliment. I love that, because I really am like literally doing everything. But I have to give props to my team. If it were not for them, it would not turn out the way it did. Film, it's not a one-man show, a one-woman show. It is a collaborative effort.
And will you be doing the same process, do you think, as you move forward?
For this series, I probably am going to be pretty hands-on on it, because I'm definitely going to be writing. I would actually want to do a writer's room, though. I don't want to write the whole thing. But I bring my whole team back, and we'd just knock it out. We'd knock it out. But I'd probably be kind of, what's going on over here?
Because you filmed this, just to quickly just close this out, you filmed this in, I'm looking at my notes here, is it 3 days?
Yes. So I'm a single mom, and I'm also a full-time employee. So I had 3 days off, and I scheduled the shoot within those 3 days because that's all the time I had, and I self-funded as well. So I just was like, we got the schedule together and we just knocked it out in 3 days.
Amazing. And Ria, you too, I mean, you got a writer on board. You came up with the concept, got the writer on board, and then you directed. You also EP'd it and did all of the...
Actually, no. I mean, all of that was true except for the EP part. So I'm a very controlling individual, typically, and to echo what these lovely ladies said, it became very collaborative, and I surrounded myself with people who I trusted. There's that word again, and whose ideals and ideas aligned with mine. And then I really did give up a ton of control on purpose. I wanted to do that one thing well, just direct. I just wanted to direct. So even though I'm a writer, I didn't write it. Even though I'm a producer, I didn't produce it. I mean, I did a lot of producerial, is that a word? Job. I mean, of course I oversaw, but I hired, not asked for favors. I hired producers. My DP was an epic part of this. I never would have been able to do this without my cinematographer, Robert E. Arnold, who also produced it. So I really gave up a lot of control, which I think set me up for success. I'm sure I could have done more, but I just know myself. I think the directing wouldn't have been as keyed in. And that was my whole goal, is this is my directorial debut in theater. I'm sorry, in film and TV, because I was a theater director. I really needed and wanted it to be it. So now going forward, I will be one of the writers for sure. And I'll be a producer more in action and in title. But I did kind of tap out a little bit with the rest of it, which was not easy for me.
And you've been on a lot of professional sets. How important do you think it is for women in the industry, particularly, to be multidisciplined, to be able to do all of these different things?
How important is it? I don't know that it's vital. I mean, I think you can do one thing and just stay with that forever if you want to. I also I thought a little bit around staff was a acting was a okay. All of that I feel we're bringing to where I'm at with the broad, just great culmination of chapter, which is for me, it's really
Ria, ladies, can you hear Ria? Is she popping in and out for you? Ria?
Yeah.
You've frozen, doll.
Oh, that's so sad.
Oh, no.
No?
Maybe flip the camera off and then back on again.
Let's see if we can, maybe Lauren, if you're still there, if you can pull Ria backstage and then see if we can reconnect with her. Okay, so we'll go back to Ria, but CT, you're the same. You did such a beautiful job of writing and then starring in this and then editing the series yourself. Tell us about what you sort of learned doing all three of those roles. Would you do it the same or?
No, I was impatient. I was 25. It was my first project. I was, used to getting so many rejections in theater, having my plays up in theater festivals. And unfortunately, a lot of these theater festivals, they only give you one shot. And, in film, you can call cut and you can edit around your mistakes, but in theater, you can't do it. And the fact that they only gave you 1 performance or 3 performances, it's not really like, you know, enough time to really figure out how to make something really captivating if you haven't produced it before. So that's why when I moved to film, I was really impatient. I wrote these scripts really fast, and I just really wanted to produce them because I was like, oh, it's time. I'm 25. I have to get going. And then when I went into production, I had to learn everything on the fly. I didn't go to film school. A lot of my friends helped out that I worked with in a restaurant. And actually, one of my good friends, she became my script supervisor because she was just really good at pointing out all the editing, like the continuity problems in films and TV. She was just really good at it. So I was like, oh, I need you on my set because it's so important for an editor to have a good script supervisor. So then you can cut scenes without, you know, having such a headache or have to be really, really creative about it. And I realized that when I didn't spend enough time in pre-production, because then when I went to production, it was fine. But then, you know, in post-production, that's where you see all your mistakes. And it's like, oh, some of these mistakes could have been avoided if I spent more time in pre-production, writing stronger scripts, revising, working on the character development, because the story is really the most important thing. Also, I didn't do casting, I didn't do auditions, I just asked actors. And I also asked people who were not actors to be in, and sometimes that does work. You can direct people who are not seasoned, like forgot what's that guy's name. He directed Tangerine and the Florida Project. Yeah. But anyways, he's pretty much he's a director known for working with people who tend to not be actors, and he's really good at directing people who are not seasoned on camera. But I don't really have that skill set yet. So I think the next time, because I'm writing a second season, is I spend more time on the story, also working on my acting, because Krystal, as you said, it's hard to, like, you know, be in one place, like mentally you're trying to be the character, but then at the same time you're worrying about a million other things, like, oh, are we good on time? Is so-and-so supposed to be where they are? Or when are we breaking for lunch? Who's in charge of that? Like, this is one thing I do stress with the food thing, because I did learn this the hard way. I did hire a producer for my first episode, but they were just there for the money. And as everyone said before, it's really important to find a team that does care about the project. It's not just about the money. It's about them wanting the project to succeed, whether they're being paid or not. And they just, like, most of my money was wasted on the first episode because they spent it on food that nobody ate. So I think the most important thing when you're on set, especially if you have a skeleton crew or a small group of people, just be personable and ask what they want to eat for that day. So then you can budget the food and nothing's wasted. Like, I would cook tacos for people when I was acting on camera. So I think
it's going to be really important to be mindful of those things now, especially with COVID and the way that we're going back into production. It's going to be skeleton stuff, you know, it's going to be smaller shoots. So those things are necessary. I know that I make documentary films, and all of our crews are much smaller now, even for networks. And we are doing crazy things like, you know, just going to Chipotle and ordering everyone individual meals, and because you can't have the usual crafty. Ria, you're back! Yay!
You know what happened? I feel like the Italians say "chiacchierone." I'm just talking, and I didn't know it was frozen. I looked up the director, by the way, CT, and is it Sean Baker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to go back to anything you were saying, Ria, or should we keep moving on?
We can move on.
Okay. All right. Well, if you think of it, just interrupt.
Well, I know what I was going to say. I was sensing you on about. I mean, I guess my takeaway with what I was yakking about before is that I think that it's dangerous to limit yourself to say that I'm only this or I'm only that. I said I'm a bit of a hoe in that I've jumped around professions quite a bit in our industry, but I think all of that has set me up for success, springboarded me into this new chapter as director. So in being a writer for television shows, in being an actor, in being a manager, a casting director, I've done all of that. And I think that I know that it has really positioned me properly for what I'm doing now, being at the helm and really having empathy for all of the different jobs on set too. So that, and how important it is, how every single person is so important. Sometimes when we are only the second team, which is what my show is about, the stand-ins for the stars, and maybe we don't feel important, guess what? We are. That's a very important job. It's just as important as the first team. It's just as important as the, gaffer. Everyone is integral, an integral part, of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And so we've all mentioned at one point in time, just recently, casting. Georgette, in terms of casting for your series, is it for you all about who you know, or do you go out and seek people and cold call people to interview?
Specifically for After Dark, the vision that I had with this was, who did I have access to? Who would be interesting on camera? Who actually had a story to tell? Because when it first started, it was called Georgette After Dark. I actually wanted to emulate Chelsea Handler meets Oprah, right? And I loved how witty and candid and raw Chelsea was with her conversations and interviews when she took it to Netflix. And then I was just like, well, who do I know in this pool of people? And so for me, it was pulling people. And even for other things that I've done, I'm always thinking about my mental Rolodex of people I have access to. I think for me, when it does come to where I'm pulling strangers, like the vetting process, it still has to be like, what is interesting about you? And then how candid are you willing to be? A lot of people are kind of scripted and like, I am this and I am that. And that's not how I present or appear in any of my content, and neither has my past guests. Again, because when you pull up to After Dark, you're sitting with me and we're talking as if we knew each other. We could be, shooting the shit. It's like, it's whatever it is. But I want anyone that pulls up to know, like, you got to feel that comfy. But you would want to feel that comfy. So yeah, for me, it was just accessing the people that I knew that had some interesting stories with them.
And how do you test that? Do you do an initial sort of pre-interview interview on the phone, or have a coffee, or how do you do that?
So funny. I should be doing that. I did not do that, but I've had conversations. Like, I literally, the one thing that was so dope about the 7 people I interviewed, with the exception of maybe one person. Well, no, everybody, how I met them, it was an interesting story that unraveled everything. And so it just fortunately worked out for me in that way. But I've had conversations with them like before I even knew I wanted to do an interview series. And so when I decided to do the interview series, it was so easy to be like, oh, this person would probably be down if they say yes, like this, they would be good on camera, this person. So it worked out, but I definitely need to do pre-screenings for future stuff.
And Krystal, how did you do your casting? Sorry, I'm trying to get away from the sunlight. Oh.
Yeah, so I actually have a background in casting. I used to cast music videos. And then I had my first film casting credit for a Nickelodeon film. So I know how to put out breakdowns. And for some of the roles, I did put out breakdowns. But for the main people, I remember people. I remember performances. I teach at an acting studio, and there was an actor who came in once, and I said, that guy looks like this guy in my script. His name was Sean Baker, funnily enough, not the director.
Oh, weird.
But his name was Sean Baker. And he had exactly what Candy's fiance needed. He was big, that other people would maybe feel intimidated by him, but he had a lovable personality. So like that's the point I wanted to show, is that other people may fear something that is very, very lovable and endearing. So he had that. And I just asked him one day, I said, hey, I know I saw you in class. I would love for you to read the script. So that's one. The guy that I teach with at the studio, whose name is Steve Albacher, said, hey, Steve, this is a mean character. He's going to be not so likable, but I think you can pull it off. And so he said, yes. Jared Wofford, who plays Candy's brother, we met on a plane going to a callback, and we ran lines together. And months later, I was like, hey, I have this thing that I think you'd be great for. So I just remember people because of that background. And the other thing is, all of those are SAG actors. So I had to make sure that my project was union. It's a lot of paperwork, but it's not daunting. And I encourage everyone to go ahead and make sure you can get your projects union, because you're going to get actors who are seasoned, and that's just going to make your project better. Also, I was able to give some non-union actors vouchers and credits toward getting in the union. So some of our Carolyn Carter, John Vertulo, who play the mayor and the mayor's aide, they're not union, but they stood up and they were able to do that job, and now they have something that can lead towards them becoming in the union.
Awesome. And Ria, you have a really interesting casting story too.
Are you speaking about Phil by any chance? Is that okay? So let me back up and say that I did offer a couple of the roles out to people who I felt were strong for the leads, and then I hired a casting director who had plugged in some other cast members. And then I also opened auditions to our production assistants on the show I was working on at the time, because many of them want to be actors or are actors, but they want to work as actors. So I just cast a wide net and I said, whomever wants to put themselves on tape, I don't care what sex you are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care anything, just here's the role. It could be, it could be any of you, because it was all crew members on this fictitious TV show. And actually, one of the gentlemen who landed a role was Akil Jackson, who's one of our production assistants on Grownish. So he gave a bang up audition, and guess what? He got to deliver a brilliant monologue at the beginning of the short, and I was so grateful. I'm so honored to have given him this opportunity, and he rose to the occasion. And we also were our union, and I did use some non-union actors also. So I think that's vital to just give everyone a shot, whoever's best for the role. In terms of one of my leads, Phil Lewis, of Sweet Life on Deck and all of those shows, the Disney shows back in the day, he and I went to high school together in Michigan. We went to Performing Arts High School, Interlochen Arts Academy. So we've known each other for over 30 years. Oh gosh, I aged myself. Whatever. Anywho, a long time. He graciously decided to act. And even though he's a big director now, he directs a ton of TV. And I said, come act again. And he did. He popped in and he banged it up.
What I love about the way that you cast this film too is that because you said, these are the character traits and that's the only thing I'm putting on the breakdown, the two factors, the only factor was, do you get it? And do you get the comedy? Do you get the style? And if you do, then that's the person who gets the role, not what you look like or how you sound or any of that.
I want more of that. Yeah, that was it. And I'm really glad, because it elevated the project. I didn't have a ton of preconceived notions. I read a great script. I pitched a great script. A great script was written by Annie Weisband. And then I just needed to dial in the proper actors, and I'm just glad we did it that way. That's how I'll always do it now.
Yeah. Do you know, for people like CT who are sort of starting out in filmmaking and who are casting for the first time, how do you get, having been a casting director before, how do you get interest from casting directors to help you cast if this is your first project?
Who are you asking?
Anybody who has some insight on that.
Well, I think you send them a script and you make sure that they get it too, because just like the actors, you want to make sure your casting director understands the tone, understands what you're looking for, hopefully doesn't need much money. You try to entice them with a credit, whatever you need to do, beg, borrow, steal. But how do you get them interested? I think you want to find someone who where the project resonates with them. And I was lucky enough to do that. I picked the first person that I picked, luckily got it, but you could just keep trying if that first person doesn't.
And I know a lot of the casting directors, particularly the ones in New York who focus on indie films, they actually like to be producers too. So they take it under their company. So that's often a way that you can get around.
Sure, you can offer that up, which can be enticing as well. And then I also wanted to add casting associates. So maybe not the person up at the tippity top of the casting agency, but an associate who is ready for that big break will often be more amenable to spend the time and energy for little to no money because they want that credit, just like the actor wants the credit, just like anybody else wants the credit. And you're kind of helping them, they're helping you.
Amazing. Krystal, did you have anything to add to that? Because I know you had experience in casting too.
Yeah, and you can check out those sites yourself. If you don't have the money for a casting director, you can post on breakdown services. You can post a project. You can post on LA Casting if you're in LA, and casting networks if you are not in LA. And you can get submissions. You can then eco-cast people, send them sides, and then have them audition. And you can review those auditions. And keep it, like Ria did, keep the net wide. You don't know what actor is going to inspire you to see the character in a way you hadn't seen them before. So keep an open mind with that. And just, it's actually amazing to, if you wrote something, to hear other people interpret your words, it's a beautiful thing. And I just had to make one comment, Ria. That monologue was hilarious. I was sitting there and I was just like, this is so funny. I mean, loved it. Absolutely loved your show.
Little dry delivery, just.
It was so funny. So you guys definitely have to see that. Anybody watching, go see Second Team. It's hilarious.
The actor who played the script supervisor for me was a standout as well. Just dropping like bombs, just
Chester Lockhart, and another great example. So my casting director found Chester, and I, completely trusted her. I actually did not see him read, but I trusted her completely. She was right. And what's funny is in the script, he was not supposed to end the show. Like, we just plugged in a take of him saying, that's not in the script. And then we kind of punctuated the short film with his line because it became a runner. But that was an accident. That was because he was so brilliant with his, his.
So now you all have gone through this process from idea, concept, to script, to production, to post, and now you're in the festival circuit. What feels like the next step for your projects? Any of you?
Welcome. The next step for my project is, I was just talking about it today. I'm shopping it. I want to see if I can get this on a bigger scale, get some network behind it. But if not, if they're too afraid to touch the subject, I understand that it's touchy, especially in the times that we're in. I put it out to a couple of people, and the responses I've gotten is, wow, this is so powerful, and wow, so timely with everything happening. That's such a coincidence. But I think people want uplifting content right now. I don't think, and I'm like, it's okay. That's not for you, So for me, if it's going to be a series, that is the next step. And so I'm going to push it, whether I'm pushing it and I'm going to make it on my own, and we're going to fund it by people who do want to see it, or we're making it with the studio. We don't know, but it's a full series, and that's what we're trying to do with it.
And you partnered with the Innocence Project in terms of getting case studies for content.
Yeah.
You thought about partnering? Well, actually, that's an interesting question. Just on that, for other filmmakers, how do you reach out to an organization like that to help you bring your project to life?
Be bold. Be bold. I called them. My mom, she introduced me to them. She's an attorney. But she told me, hey, they're doing some stuff that's amazing. I think it would be great for your project. I emailed, and then I got shifted to a couple different people, and finally wound up with the phone number of the person I needed to talk to. Pitched him over the phone, and I said, so we really just want to stay in association with you for this, but this is the plan for the full series. And he's like, well, say it. This is amazing. We want to be involved. And I said, really? Honestly, you guys, I was jumping up and down with the phone on mute, like, I can't believe this. But then I'm like, great, yeah, no, that sounds wonderful. Put that in an email so I have some record of that. And he's been instrumental. He has been giving me cases just to help develop the series. And it's a lot of paperwork that you're gonna have to do, but reach out, be bold. The best thing that he told me, and the worst thing, he said, I have enough cases to keep you busy for 10 seasons from just the California chapter. That's sad. That's really sad that we have to fix this. So, yeah.
Which makes it, all the more timely to do this series. So congratulations. Georgette, what's next for your series? I know you said that you want to film some more interviews. Are you going to be reaching out? Do you have enough people in your back pocket that you know to keep interviewing, or are you going to be reaching out to people you don't know? And
So a couple of things. Yeah, I mean, for me being non-scripted, the one thing I like about the content that I have, the 7 episodes, it's evergreen content. And so similar to Krystal, for me, the goal, now that I finally did the rollout, it took 3 years to get to this point. I actually want to collaborate with digital platforms to run this series again, season 1. And then I don't want to pay out of pocket for it anymore. And so like that is what is a slow walk for me to get to season 2. Season 2 will be a mix. I think I'm probably going to lean more into people that I don't know. I already got a couple of people that I'm interested in. One is a major comedian, but I met him years ago and he was so excited and loved it. He's like, I want to be on the show. In my mind, I was just like, you want to be on the show? Of course you're going to be on the show. But there was somebody else that my friend that's been working with me was so instrumental in my marketing rollout. And he had brought someone else to my attention and her story was interesting. And I don't personally know her, but again, with the premise being, showing people that are badasses in their professional lives, yet unassuming in their personal, there's always going to be room to bring in different types of people. And so we'll definitely see what happens. Season 2 for sure. Let me claim it. Season 2 for sure. And me partnering with a digital platform or a network that's looking for digital content. So content partnerships for sure.
Now, what comes to mind is Refinery 29 being
yes!
wonderful. We put it out in the atmosphere that Refinery 29 hears about Georgette and says, we need her on our new network.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you said that because Refinery 29 has Unbothered, and Unbothered really focuses on like Black women and things that are affecting Black women. And I have been drooling over wanting to do a content partnership with Refinery 29 Unbothered. So it's so funny that you said that. Let me go out and reach out to these people because I literally was going to, and I paused and I got distracted by other things. Similar to Krystal, like I started working and, you gotta have the money coming in during Rona. And so, but I haven't made it back to what brought me to After Dark. And I really want to do that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful platform. They're starting to do their own narrative content as well as, reality and documentary. I acted in a pilot for, it was funded by Kate Spade. So they all like, we're trying to bring in female-owned businesses, right? So it was an amazing narrative pilot for a series that was sponsored by Kate. And so everybody wore Kate Spade clothes, all of them. It was quite awesome. But yeah, they're awesome. Really empowering producers there. So yeah, you should reach out. That would be a
Thank you. Good to know. Thank you so much.
And CT, you said you're writing your next season. How are you using this pandemic? Are you going to be doing table reads and where are you with it?
Yeah, probably Zoom table reads. I actually, through my first season, I actually brought on board if someone's interested in investing her time. Unfortunately, I can't pay her right now because I was like all of you, I've been paying out of pocket and most of the people I've been working with have been working pro bono. But I brought another female producer and she's also a seasoned actress and she knows a lot of different actors, people in the past. She has a lot of connections, so she's going to help me cast this next season. And we're probably also going to be working on using the first season to garner interest and also to maybe fundraise as well. So I can also, because I'd love to pay the actors because, to be on set for so long and they are working and it's like I know we all have worked for free and it's hard. And I would just love to be able to at least give something besides just food and credit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more compensation than that because it is important.
We're putting that out in the atmosphere for you as well. That's awesome. And Ria, I don't know if you can speak in detail about what's next for your project, but a little hint of it would be nice to inspire everyone.
Well, yeah, when we shot this and when we wrote it and then shot it, it was really just supposed to be an example of my work, as I said earlier. But a happy accident is that it watches like a proof of concept. Mm-hmm. So there has been a lot of interest in several production companies and development execs in terms of either developing it into a series or a feature, and we haven't quite decided yet. Maybe it'll be both, but we're in talks. So it doesn't end here. I just don't know exactly what iteration it will take next.
And in those talks, is Annie your writer part of those talks? How do you proceed with, when you've got this core group of people, and I know when you get to the network, sometimes they say they kibosh things,
Well, yeah, but you have the power to walk away then. As somebody was saying earlier, Krystal, which one of you ladies just said, it was Krystal. Oh, that might not be for you then. I mean, if you can decide how you want it to go down, and if that company doesn't get it, that's okay. I'll be over here. I have specific things in mind. But to your question, yes, Annie wrote it, but we will write together going forward. As I said, I wanted to bow out just for the actual, what's turning into a pilot sort of, the first iteration, but now we'll work together. And what's great is, you can't just necessarily write with anybody. We found that we work really well together, and that was another happy accident. I had read her work, and that is how I enlisted her help in writing. So we had never written together. Now we are having brainstorming sessions and breaking characters and scripts and that sort. And storylines. And we learned, wow, we can do this together. Right now she's in New Jersey and I'm here, and we're still able to do it. So
amazing. So that's one of our audience questions, is how you ladies are using your time at home now, and how do you feel you're being most productive? Either related to your projects or something that's coming up next for you. Krystal, what are you doing at the moment?
The pandemic hit, and I said, what's going to be really important? People who know how to work in this kind of bubble. If you can learn how to make something in this bubble, you're going to have a valuable skill. So that's what I'm going to figure out. And I wrote and created, along with my actor Sean Baker, actually, who was in New Jim Crow, a series called Sunset. It's a dark thriller, filmed completely virtually. It's 6 episodes. We have actors from Atlanta, LA, and London, and we brought them all together in a very seamless way. You're seeing screens, but there's a purpose behind the screen. So it's not just like, we wrote it in to make sense why we're seeing people on screens. And it's sci-fi, it's thriller. That's the other thing I love to do, is sci-fi and fantasy. So that is coming next. We are in post-production with that. I have 3 more episodes just to finish the edit on, just to sprinkle the special sauce on, and then we'll hopefully put that out there very soon. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Amazing. And Cece, what are you doing?
Just writing the 2nd season and getting feedback constantly either through the phone or socially distanced meeting outside, but it is getting cold. Just keeping in contact, just keep, throwing ideas, brainstorming.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Georgette?
The one thing I had to learn when I rolled out After Dark, the way that I felt like content should be rolled out with the help of my friend, I realized building community was so important. And so I had released something. I had released an interview series. It's the video series of my podcast, Black and Nuanced. And when I rolled it out, it clashed with the news. A lot of Black bodies were dying. And so what I started doing was, after I did the proper rollout for After Dark, I was like, okay, well, the next rollout is just me re-releasing it. And so it's revisiting things during Rona, releasing content or re-releasing things, and then thinking about how I want to set myself up for 2021 on the next project that I want to work on. But it's really ideating and spending this time, not allowing this COVID bubble that we're in to stop the content that I want to create. So you just kind of have to, shift and pivot on what that looks like now and make it interesting for people to want to be engaged.
Right. And in terms of, because I know this is often something that is the hardest part for filmmakers, often female filmmakers, because we tend to be sort of less likely to put ourselves out there. This social media piece and the marketing piece of an indie film project is super tough, and it's something that, one, we don't necessarily always think of when we budget, and it's something we need to think of when we budget. Turning up to film festival fees, social media fees, having someone do the social media so you don't have to do it. Is that something that you've done all yourself, Georgette, with your project? Sorry.
Man, before After Dark, I was doing it myself. It was funny because the first time I released Black and Nuance in HD, the extension of my podcast, my rollout was trash. It was so raggedy. Like, I just put it out there in my mind. It made sense. When I worked with my friend that I hired who does social media, and I met him when we were all at Viacom working at MTV and VH1, when he made it make sense to me, I saw the difference. And so in the beginning, I was doing it by myself. It was not smart. It was not good for just even getting the attention and the engagement I wanted. After Dark got done right. And so now we're using that as the model on how I need to move forward with anything. I mean, anything that I release. But now to your point, that takes time. So you can't rush in or just jump into all these things. And like when the episode's done, you release it. So I had to really think about it from a standpoint of like, bank your episode. So now there's a proper rollout so people can watch this every Tuesday at 6 on IGTV, or they have some place like unified place to go and watch this content because you waited to release it at a certain time, all at the, on schedule. So
right. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I'm an indie filmmaker myself, and there's things that I learned too about bringing that person on really early, have them on set because they should be taking backstage photos. They should be taking, dropping photos every so often. It's so many things that you don't think about. And it's another hat for all you women who already wear 12 hats to wear. And it often becomes not fun then. So Krystal, you do a beautiful job of this with your own projects and your own personal marketing. I've done a little stalking myself. But, tell us about what you've learned in that.
The social media. Well, it's super important these days, and I'm a person who does not love social media. Sorry to say it, but I just don't love it. So it's been really hard trying to tackle that part. But when I know I'm not great at something or my heart is not in something, I find somebody else whose heart is in it. And so I hired a team. I do not run my social media anymore. I can't. I mean, I'll come on there and I'll do stories. But when it comes to posting about content, I have a feature film that I finished during pandemic too called 6888. They're posting about that and they're getting the word out about that. It's if you don't love it, or if you can't do it, if you can find somebody, even if you can't pay them at this time, some people are trying to their cachet and show, hey, I was able to take this person from A to Z. So you can become a test subject for them. For me, it's not my game. I'm sorry.
We found that reaching out to marketing students at university was a really good way of getting someone on board, especially if they love your show or some aspect of it. It's really great to have them on board at the beginning. Ria, what are you doing with your sort of rollout and getting it out there?
Actually, that is something I have done on my own. I felt like it was maybe going to take me too long to explain what I wanted because everything has been happening so fast and furious. I figured I'll just do it. And I actually do glean pleasure from it. There's other things that I don't, and I outsource that. For instance, my website, plural, my own, and then second teams. I mean, I started to sort of learn how to do it, but I realized, no, I'm going to hire someone for that. But the social media for now I'm doing, and then of course I will toss it to someone else when I'm too busy. But that's been one of the blessings of this ick, I call it ick, that we're in, is that I have the luxury of time because at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep, I may or may not be front loading some new posts. And that does kind of calm me down for some freakish reason. I dig it. Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. And Lauren's just given me a little note that we have to wrap up now. So I'm really sad about that. But ladies, it's just, I mean, I'm in awe of everything that you have achieved and everything that you're going to achieve. And I'm so excited to be following your careers. And it was wonderful to meet you. And I hope that everybody watching has gotten a little nugget of goodness from this talk. All of the ladies are on social media, so and it's very easy to find. So if you have any troubles, please reach out to Lauren. She'll put you in contact. And thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to
Thank
come on and
you.
say goodbye. When we start, I'm always nervous about the technical stuff, so I didn't even say it was nice to meet everyone. And Georgette, it's great to see you again. It's been years.
Yes.
I know. Next time it'll be in person in New York. Thank you, guys. I appreciate this so much. And thank you, Kathleen. You were great. You guys were amazing.
Yes, and I watched
Thank you.
everybody's show. You guys are all great powerhouses. Just keep doing it. I love it.
Yes, a real inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.